Greetings, Pepin Falcons, and welcome to another. Well, before we get started, there's something I have to do. I have a little bit of a surprise for you because I actually remembered something that you probably thought I forgot. And I'm going to go take care of that right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So today we're going to begin a little week or two excursion into the relationship between fractions, decimals, and percents. Come in.
Mike, what did you do?
What? I missed National Mustache Day on April 9th, and so I'm going to try to catch up today.
But why did you shave it off?
What, you mean I was supposed to leave it on?
Yes. How do you celebrate something by making it disappear?
Well, I was thinking of National Headache Day on June 27th and National Pizza Day on February 9th and National Chocolate Day on October 28th. And we celebrate those things by making them gone.
But now no one can see your mustache.
It doesn't look right, does it? Oh, no.
I can't see.
Well, here, I can do this, I guess. Here we go. All right, well, this is actually in style. I was just at Home Depot, and I saw three guys like this. They had a bag of money, too. Okay, so, greetings, fellow Falcons, and welcome to another edition of Math is More Than Fun at Pepin. I'm your host, Mr. Newber, and we are. This isn't going to work. Sorry. Wait. Greetings, fellow Falcons, and welcome to another edition of Math is More Than Fun at Pepin. I am your host, Mr. Newber, and today we are going to get into those fractions, decimals, and percentages that I was referring to. Instead of just going into the problems and showing you how to work them, I'm going to do all I can to see if you understand what the relationship is, how they are actually different expressions of the exact same measure. And just to prove that, I'm going to flash you an answer sheet. And here it is. One column is the fraction, the middle column is the equivalent decimal, and the column on the right is the equivalent percentage. I'm going to show you, and I wrote all of this down, that's why I'm seated, and I think I can use and point with this and let you know how all of these three major items in your math briefcase are all related. They're actually the same thing. Okay, so let's get started. And please, at any time in this video, stop and you can write this stuff down. I prefer that you watch it and listen and then maybe stop at the end. I'll leave it up there for a couple of seconds. You can stop the video and write it down and take notes. But watch this. I think this will make a lot of sense to you. All right. I write up here the heading, all two-digit percentages. All two digits, a percentage with two digits, or of course 1 through 9. But most of the time we're going to be working with two-digit percentages. Even though they are whole numbers, all of them they equal fractions and decimals less than 1. So I'm going to show you how this 75% here is actually the same as this 3/4 and the same as this decimal that's obviously less than 1. Okay, so the percentages are the one that sometimes cause students the most trouble, even though you're probably all aware what 100% means and what 50% means, just like you're aware of 1/2, just like you're aware of 0.5 or 0.50, 50 cents, half of a dollar. So there are these relationships. Let's see what we can do. Fractions first, all right? A proper fraction has to be proper, not improper. Everybody knows, everybody watching this knows, a proper fraction means a fraction in which the numerator is smaller than the denominator and therefore is less than 1. Okay? And the way we find and the way we can describe a fraction, a proper fraction, is with pizza. And that's what this is. 3/4. 3/4 is actually 3 slices of a 4-slice pizza. 1 slice gone, Mr. Newber delivered it, and that's what happens when you ask me to deliver your pizza. 3/4. You do not have a whole pizza in that box. That means it's less than 1, which is what we said here. All right? So let's look at a decimal. How do we get a decimal? Well, a decimal, think money. Pizza and money are 2 things you're going to have to learn about as time goes on, as you grow older, as you work your way through school. Because so many things can be linked to them, and you'll have a better understanding of what the teacher is talking about. So 0.75 is a decimal. All right, 0.75 is a decimal. I'm going to show you how to link the decimal and the fraction at the end of the lesson. But 0.75 is a decimal. If you understand money, you know that this 0.75 is 75 cents. 75 cents is definitely less than $1. 75 cents is 3/4, but a dollar is 4/4. So here we have two examples. This is actually the same number expressed as a fraction and as a decimal. And they are exactly equal. 3/4 equals 0.75 or 75/100. And we just can see just now with what we did that both of these are less than 1. This, of course, is less than 1. This is less than 1 because 75 cents is less than 1. Okay? Now let's go to the percentages. The percentage number. I'm making the case here that 75% is the same as the 3/4 and is the same as a 0.75. And how can I say that? Because that is a huge number. That is a huge number. 75 is a big number. Over here, that's not 75, that's 0.75. That's a tiny little thing. This is a huge number, right? No, because of that percentage sign. Okay? That's not a huge number. What is a whole pizza or a dollar when you're talking about percentages? What is a whole pizza? 100% of the pizza. What is a whole dollar? A whole dollar bill as compared to a handful of maybe a few nickels and dimes and so on. A whole dollar and a whole pizza, this word whole, is 100%. So now you can see this 100% shows up as a 1 in a fraction and shows up as 1.0 in a decimal. The 100%, the 1, and the 1.0 are all equal, and they all signify one whole thing that we're referring to. In this one, it can be either the pizza or the dollar, and that's what I did here. I linked it with pizza and a dollar. 100% of it. You've got 1.00, and here you have 1 pizza. So 75 is a big number, but 75% is not. It's not even one whole thing. If you saw me sitting down in the lunchroom and I've got a big submarine sandwich and it's cut into sections, and maybe you're going on a field trip with another class and you're asking me, can I have all of that pizza or all of that submarine sandwich? You are asking me for 100% of it. 100% is one whole submarine sandwich. 100% of it. 100% means 1. 75% is less than that. Okay? So now that is an important link between percentages, fractions, and decimals, which were the 3 items that I put on this page. But you see, these are equal going across. They're the same monetary value. So all three of these, I wrote this over here, all three of these, the proper fraction, the 2-digit decimal, and the 2-digit percentage, all of them are less than 1. And of course, to have a decimal, it's understood you have to have a decimal point, and we're talking about 1 or 2 digits after that. Okay? And they all can be equal. Now, I want to show you how you find these, how you can find these, and this is the math part of it. This is the understanding of it. There's nothing to fear here, folks. And I will say I expect a number of you are doing okay with fractions and decimals and so on. So how do we find these things? We very easily can find a decimal from a fraction by looking at this. Everybody know what this sign is in math? Everybody know what this is? Manning? Kylie, what is this sign? That's exactly right. That's a division sign. In math, that means division. That means you are going to divide. Well, divide what? We're going to divide the denominator into the numerator. We're going to take a fraction, like 3/4, and we are going to divide the numerator by the denominator, like that. And if you go ahead and divide that out, up here, you are going to get 0.75. So it's very easy to go from a fraction to a decimal simply by dividing the denominator into the numerator. Now, how can I check that just real quick? How can I check that? How about, Mr. Newber, we use a fraction that we all know. I'm glad you asked that, all right? So let's take a fraction we all know. Here's a fraction we all know, 1/2. We all know 1/2. We know what half of something is, and most of you should understand that if we go ahead and divide this out, this should be 0.5, because I can add a 0 on there. 50 cents is half of $1. So you can see, you already know the answer to this, converting it from a fraction to a decimal. You already know what it is. Well, let me do it. Let me do this one and show you how easy this is. If you don't know what 1/2 is as a decimal, well, okay, let's divide the denominator into the numerator. I'll do it right here. The denominator is 2, and the numerator is 1. Does 2 go into 1? No. So what have you been taught since, probably 2, 3, 4 years now? What have you been taught when this number is too small for this one? You put a decimal point above and below the line and add a 0. Now, Ronnie Millsap can see, I've got a 2 dividing into 10. Well, 2 times 5 is 10, so the answer is 0.5. There's one that most of you know. I'll bet 80% of you already knew that 1/2 equals 0.5 or 0.50. You already knew that, all right? So this works for any fraction at all. If you want to know the decimal, if Mr. Mike comes in and he says, well, I can give you 11 of 24 slices of pizza in this huge, humongous pizza that somebody just dropped off in the cafeteria, and I might ask you, what's the percentage of that? How much is he actually giving us? I'm not going to do the math here, but it's the same solution. You would divide the denominator into the numerator, and you're going to come up with, and does 24 go into 11? No, 24 is bigger than 11. In fact, you're probably always going to have to put a 0 there with a decimal point, and then use your calculator and divide 24 into 110, and you will get the percentage. Okay? And that's why these are easy to understand when we use common fractions. We don't have to get fancy like that one, and we only use 2 digits past the decimal point. So now, how do we include percentage into this relationship that we understand between fractions and decimals. How are we going to use percentages? Percentages are simply the taking the decimal like this and simply removing the decimal point and putting down the percentage mark. That's all you have to do. And the reason for that is this is a number out of 100, and so is this. If you know your place values, you know the fraction for this is actually going to be 75 over 100. These are all equal right here. And this is 75 over 100. Now you know this 75 over 100 is actually 3 over 4. You know there's 3/4 in that and 4/4 in that one. So that can be reduced to 3 over 4. So this is how you work this between all of them. As long as you have 2 digits over here on the right side of the decimal point, you can simply remove that decimal point and place a percent sign there, and you have it. Where you have to do the work is when you look on the sheet and they're giving you a fraction and possibly the percent and they want the decimal. This also works backwards. If you're clever, this works backwards. It has to. Something I just want to mention, if you've been doing math for a while and you enjoy math and you kind of you like the underpinnings of it and where things came from, and the word percent simply came from per century. If you're looking at the number of years in a century, there's 100 years in a century, right? So let's say in the 1900s, 24 years of the century were involved in a war, a global war of some kind. You would say that is 24 over 100. That's 24 per century, 100 years. That's where that came from. Once again, math shorthand, where the old guys doing math, every time they had to go and borrow a donkey and go over the hill, get another jug of ink to do their math by daylight. Remember, they didn't even have lamps or anything. They're saying, why are we writing out this whole word? Let's just shorten this a little bit. Call it percent. Woohoo! Percent. There it is. This is all tied together. So listen closely to Mrs. D when she gives you the instructions on how to do the work. I'll be here all next week, all 4 days for the Zoomies. I'll be in here. I can even wear the same shirt and tie if you like, and we can work these. This is something you can excel at. This is something you might be sitting there and saying, I'm not very good at math. I just want this. And don't fight it, because you might look at this and say, yeah, I understand that. Heck yeah, I know what that means. I especially understand 1/2 and 0.5 and 50%. Well, you're halfway there. All the other numbers are from 1 to 50, and then from the 50 to 100 down at the end. So when you get this worksheet, you're going to love it. I'm going to be here with you, so be sure to tune in. And if Miss D wants me to do another one of these and come in from a different angle, I'll be glad to do that and post another video on YouTube just for you. I'm here checking out the math, but I'm not using my feather, okay? You know I'm an old mathematician. Bye. See you in the next video.